All right, good afternoon here. We are back. Today I'm going to swap out the handlebar setup, cockpit as it were, of this Mongoose ATB from the 80s. Now I'm not sure if it's an 85 or an 87. I want to say 87 because I thought, maybe I just made this up in my head somewhere, that the U-brakes at the bottom of the chainstay, thought that was a 1 year only thing that Shimano had tried out, and that didn't quite work out. Mud buildup was what I've read about a lot with it, but as you find later on, as you try out, fatter tires here and there on these old mountain bikes, the tire clearance also becomes an issue with those U-brakes. But that's why I think it's an 87, but there's a serial number here, and the last two numbers are 85, which makes me think it might have been an 85. I don't know. It's old. It's from the early days of mass production mountain bikes. It's actually really cool. This is like a 4130, totally chromoly, triple butted, all tubes it says, so it makes the distinction. Mongoose ATB. This is a really nice bike. I sort of saved it from the dead. Back when I was volunteering at the co-op, it was sort of just sitting on a pile, rusting. It gets that sort of surface rust. And barkeeper's friend, oxalic acid bath, or oxalic acid spa treatment, and it was good to go. Came back together really nice. I've been riding it ever since, occasionally, but I think what I've pinpointed over time, I just went for a ride the other day with it, and I thought to myself, I think it's this weird handlebar setup, these trekking bars. Speaking of things that you realize why people don't use them anymore, this trekking bar setup, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to work right, at least on this bike. The problem I have is that it kind of brings your knees really close to these parts of the handlebar. So when you're out of the saddle, your knees kind of knock against this, and it feels weird when you're out of the saddle. You do get these like extra hand positions, which is cool, but many extra hand positions. Although when you want to hit the brakes, you got to go down here. They used to make little extension things so that you could kind of pull them up here, but I just don't think it works very well. And as a result, you don't want to get out of the saddle, so you use your gearing to kind of sit and spin, and you end up just kind of sitting the whole time. It does a number on your back, on your butt. You've just been sitting the whole time you're on a ride. You feel it. So I'm going to go back. This originally came with just like a regular mountain bike bar. Some later versions of this bike, or earlier, I'm not sure, came with that awesome Bull Moose bar. But alas, this one came with just a regular setup, although it's got these cool double bolt here. A lot of kind of like BMX touches, being a Mongoose that sort of started out as a BMX bike manufacturer. You can see it does say here, still on the head badge, quality performance BMX products company, Mongoose. Pretty cool. So we're going to swap out this handlebar with just a regular riser bar. This is relatively wide for an old riser bar, and then I figure that way it's going to give me the reach that I need so that you can get out of the saddle. You're just maybe a little more stretched forward. This isn't a short top tube, but it does feel cramped. It's kind of a weird thing. I was thinking the other day, I was like, would this be eligible for a drop bar conversion? But I don't know. I'm trying to shy away from converting everything to drop bars these days, because then I think you just end up with a heavy road bike. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Unless you have like a really light frame, like a super light, Bridgestone MB1 or, swolled aluminum, thing. But I think this is going to be cool. It's got 3x6 early indexed shifting. You can shift the friction, but it works perfectly. I've thought often about upgrading the gearing on this to go to like, get a modern hub in there, 8-9 speed or whatever, mountain group set. But man, this thing just shifts so nice, like every time. There's no springs or pawls or anything like that. This is just a kerclunk shifter from back in the day, and everything just works perfectly. So in the spirit of not being broke, not fixing it, I'm going to leave that alone. I hope to high heavens that I have enough cable to not have to rerun shifter cables and brake cables. Cue the famous last words graphic at the bottom here. But I'm hoping I can get away with it. It's got these cool like triple down tube stops underneath the down tube. There's so many cool little details about this bike. So let's get started. I think this is going to be a quick one. I hope it's going to be a quick one, but join me. Thanks. So first things first, even though it's got these two little weirdo bolts, they're both 6mm, which is sort of the standard fare for a stem. I'm going to loosen everything up. And this is actually, speaking of BMX heritage, this stem is a 21-1 stem. So it's not 22-2, it's 21-1, which was a common BMX size back in the day, I guess. Makes it kind of hard to find replacement stems, so if you get one, don't get rid of the stem. And it's even worse than, not worse, but even more of a predicament than sometimes if you buy like an old French bike, it'll be 22 as opposed to 22.2, which is the most common quill stem. So, but you can shave that down with sandpaper. You can just sort of file it down and you're good to go. I've done that on a few bikes. But 21-1, that's a bit more work. So so that's why also I'm not going to go with the whole quill adapter thing, modern mountain bike thing that I did with the Nishiki. That's why I'm going to keep this and go with the regular mountain bike riser bar. So just going to get everything loose here. I'm going to undo the bar tape, which is Chinelli cork bar tape, which is in good shape. I'm going to go with traditional grips on this new build, but I am not averse to reusing old bar tape. No worries. All right, that's moving. That's moving. That's good. I don't think there's any like right or wrong order to do things. I have the cool cork bar stoppers. I like that little touch. See if I can, I don't know, see if I could somehow work that in to the new build. It might not work with the traditional grips, but we'll see. Trekking bar setup would have been better. I don't know. I just kind of thought this bike was so cool. I think I originally planned for this to be like a winter bike, but with the chrome and everything, I was like, I don't know. I can just picture it rusting as I was riding through the rain and snow and all that. Although I do need to, I noticed it was a little ratchety, the headset. It's beautiful Tange Falcon headset, really kind of Campagnolo looking. Although, you know what I think I am going to do? This has the, this stem has a stopper for the cable, a cable stop. That's what that is, stopper for the cable. Ta-da! So I think I'm going to remove this hanger, save that for when I need it for another build. I actually needed it on my last build. And then I'll just go in through here, down. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need a new cable for that. There we go. You know what? I'm wrong. I totally told a fib. This is 22.2. I may have been thinking about an old Peugeot that I had. This is 22.2. So I could go with a modern setup, but I'm not. I think this is just fine for this. I think it would mess with the build too much. I don't know. Because then you'd have this really modern thing. With the Nishiki, I did a lot of modern things. I had the 1x10, newer wheels, that kind of thing. With this, it's almost period correct. Going with that riser bar. shouldn't even say almost. It really is period correct. But man, my mistake on the 21-1. Don't believe a word I say. So I don't have to worry about the fork falling out or anything like that because I'm only taking this top nut off so that I can get this off. Ooh. Now we just need to get a 1-inch spacer. I had this period of time over the winter where I did this big sort of reorganization. I had all these bins of everything just all mixed together. All this stuff. And it just was not doing anybody any good. I would end up buying things just because I knew I had something, but I just couldn't find it. So I would just buy it again. But I did this giant reorg, and it's just delightful. These are like spacers and bearings and everything. And so the key, the thing is you want enough spacers so that the top nut doesn't bottom out. If the top nut bottoms out, then you'll never be able to tighten the headset the right way. I think this might actually use, and if I had a big thick spacer, which I might, I don't know. This is like a aluminum spacer. Save some weight. Yeah. See how this one does. Oop. Dropped it. Because then you get to the, if this bottoms out, you're like, why doesn't it, I dropped it again. You're like, why isn't this tightening the right way? Why does it still have give? Yeah. See, I'll show you. So you see how that just kind of comes down. It's like almost, there's like a tiny gap, but not enough. I need a bigger gap. So I am going to take that off. So now you see we have the 2 spacers, 1, 2. Still plenty of thread up here. It looks like it's not a ton, but that's plenty for this. And then go right in, and you can see there's much more of a gap. Let me use my little pick here. You got much more of a gap there. That's what you want to see. I use mostly the waterproof stuff, marine grease, for obvious reasons. Even though I'm not like a big rain rider or anything like that. But yeah. Good practice if you have something open. Put some fresh grease in there. All right. We're reasonably aligned here. Enough to give us an accurate cable length. We've got everything on here, so I can pop these on. All right. This is my grandfather's engraved hammer. Basket. Yeah. Pretty cool. Jesus. This is not great, but I keep whacking away. There we go. Yikes. Tools all over the place. All right. Ori grips. You want the Ori sort of talking to you. Because we know we're not going to have to move the grips. That's a constant. Where you have to mess around is with the levers and the shifter and all that jazz. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. Maybe I'll take the shifters. I know when it was on the trekking bar, the shifters were before the levers. I think I'm going to do a switcheroo. Again, the bike will tell you. But I had to I'm going to have to take off this Ori grip. I think that I just hammered on with the force of an elephant. Ay, ay, ay. This is my MO. This is gonna be insanely hard to get off. I just gotta inch it out. Well, those famous last words that this should be like a nice straightforward short video. All right. That doesn't work either. I don't know. That's not right. Yeah. So this is why bike builds can go psychotic quickly. I had it right in the first place. Yeah, that's how it goes. Okay, so here we are at the end of the latest project here, the cockpit redo of the Mongoose ATB. Went very well. I did have some video storage issues there at the end, so a little bit of a silent movie action with the headset adjustments, which I had to do mostly. Always got a very trial and error with headset adjustment. You got to get it on the ground, feel it move. You can do it with the brake, or if you don't have the brakes on yet, you can turn the handlebars and just kind of sit on it and rock it back and forth. Feel any play needs to be adjusted. So did that. You know, everything came out okay after I screwed up the grips a few times. These end plugs. I think the handlebar is just a very it was a very small diameter on the end here. Maybe these grips were made for bigger handlebars later in mountain bike development. But everything came out nice. It's not like a spectacular, you know, oh my God, now it just kind of rides like a nice mountain bike. I had the trekking bars on it before. As I had said, it was hard to get out of the saddle. You kind of end up just feeling like you were sitting there, like you were directed to sit as you were riding. But now it's just kind of back to just being a cool old rigid mountain bike, which is just a whole lot of fun if you haven't tried one yet. This bike is pretty cool. It's maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say it's like light or anything like that. It's probably heavy. I don't know. One of these days I'll start weighing my bikes. But I took the rack off the back. I put some tires on here. I had some light Maxxis tires that I put on there just to see how they would do. Immediately got a flat, had to walk home because I didn't bring anything to fix a flat, which was a big faux pas for an experienced bike dork. You should bring stuff with you, no matter if it's just a city ride or not. Nice long walk home. But that was fun. I took it to a local park, bombed around a little bit. That was fun. Feels good. Feels like you can stand up out of the saddle. Good control. You know, it's still got the original stem, so that's where it's meant to be. So there's no like weird geometry issues where it's too short or too long. You know, it's just, this is kind of how this bike was meant to be in its original configuration. So it works. It's very nice. I feel like maybe it'll make me ride it more, which is kind of the point. You know, I'm trying to reduce my collection a little bit, just to get to that point where you're not, you know, letting bikes sit, that you only have a few choices. You know, sometimes that choice can be paralyzing when you're trying to go for a ride. You're like, oh my God, what bike do I take? So I'm just trying to kind of further refine what I have, maybe sell off a few. I keep talking about that Bridgestone MB6 that I keep swapping out parts for and things like that. I think I'm going to sell that. I think that's a bit of an overlap with this one. And the MB6, if it was an MB1 or an MB2 or something like that, then you keep those. But it kind of overlaps too much with this bike. You know, they do kind of the same thing, even though the Bridgestone has its drop bars and all that jazz. But then I kind of have other bikes that do that too. So, you know, that's the thing with the N+1 obsession with bikes, is you try to keep it in your head that, you know, that it's okay because all my bikes have like a specific purpose or things like that, and it never ends up being right. You know, you always end up having like duplicates, and I have, you know, duplicates of the 26-inch family. So this one is a little more of a piece of history. You know, it's that sort of evolutionary bridge between BMX and mountain biking from Mongoose. And they ended up making really nice bikes for a while. Now they're sort of relegated to the big box store brand identity kind of thing. Not the same, not what they were. This is a cool bike. It's a keeper, as they say. Although I don't know, never say never. I am in that kind of reduction mode. Although, speaking of reduction mode, I went out and found a awful free bike yesterday. It's a Fuji. I have a thing for Fujis. It's sort of a more modern steel down tube shifter bike. It's in atrocious shape. I don't know if it's going to survive the teardown process. The main thing is it's got the seat post has kind of been hammered in to the seat tube. I can move it, but I'm having trouble getting it to go vertical. You only want to spend so much time before you have to cut bait on those kind of things, but that could be a future project. Thanks for watching. I'm having fun doing these videos. I like that people are watching them. People are watching them. Not a ton, but I like to see it growing. You watch those analytics and it's a little bit of a dopamine hit. I kind of was inspired to start doing this by, there's a guy I follow. He's in Portland, Oregon. His name's Starmichael Builds. Maybe I'll put a link in the description. Oh my God. Starmichael Builds. He's real. Starmichael Bowman, I think is his name. I don't know. But sort of like awesomely DIY videos. He started off like in his basement doing these videos, and he was former owner of a co-owner or something like that of a bike shop. He's a builder, frame builder. He's doing that again. He's got a space again. He's out of his basement. It's been fun to follow, and he's just really DIY. No microphone, no nothing. Things clanging around, and I don't know. He's kind of my spirit animal for this kind of stuff. But I love watching him. He's very talented. That's one thing I would love to learn how to do in the future is frame building. You know, brazing, things like that. I mean, I joke to myself, I've done plumbing. Like I've sweat pipe in the basement. I have a copper old house, like copper water system down there. I've done that, and I think the concept is the same. Flux, clean, flux, heat, let the silver go in there. But I know there's more to it, and I wish I was closer to a place that had a class or something like that, or I don't know, maybe I could have someone teach me. I don't know, but that is a bucket list thing, but it's still way out of the bucket right now, or in the bucket. I don't know how that saying works, but anyways, if you check out Starmichael, you know that he kind of ends all his videos saying thanks for watching, which is like, that's not like a trademark thing, I don't think, but I do appreciate it.